Thanks for clicking on this video. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon and turn on all notifications to keep up to date with the latest information and discussions.
Deception does not compute. I am become Gero.
Hey guys, MasakoX here. Now earlier this year, Haverock and I were talking about Dr. Gero, and over another couple of videos that we've done in the past, we thought that the Doctor had been underrated for his services to Dragonball. In short, Gero is the last bad guy in the series which is grounded in reality and on Earth. The rest of them in Z were heralding from space and took the concept of the original Dragon Ball series and turned it on its head. Gero was almost like the end of an era. So what would have been a better way to integrate his place in the series forever than for him to take the initiative and use his smarts in technology and join forces with one of the series' greatest icons on the nefarious side, and I think you know who I'm talking about. All with the aid of a mysterious cloaked stranger who seems to have a lot of intel regarding the goings-on of the future, and that person is not Trunks. Quelle surprise! Yes, it's What If Gero and Freeza Teamed Up Part 2. Now before future Trunks could come back in time and deliver his warning to the Z-Fighters, a figure came to Gero and got him to prepare for Frieza's intervention and collaborate with the Emperor. From there, things were seriously upping themselves in the anti-department. Last time we were in this scenario, Dr. Gero had successfully managed to justify his usefulness to the tyrant. He got his wish and ended up leaving with Frieza and King Cold, much to future Trunks' surprise. Impressed by his technical prowess, Gero was allowed to move some of his lab equipment onto Frieza's spaceship directly, so he could work from there. Now upon the discovery of Frieza's ship and what space technology could be like, Gero was amazed and intrigued as to how his tech could be combined with this new avenue of thinking when it comes to invention. Fortunately for him, King Cold was keen to reward this innovative idea with the gift of personnel. The Space Emperors decided to delegate some help for Gero directly, so he had his own team. Then the majority of the greatest minds of the Frieza Force were tasked to help the Doctor recreate the conditions of his lab. And indeed, on the way back to the Empire, they picked up Kikuno, who was supposed to act as a supervisor and report to Frieza the progress of Gero's mission and also that he didn't get up to any mischief. However, Gero could see right through this move. Now you see, Gero suspected Kikuno was put in place in order to spy on him, which he was, and tried to learn his secrets. If he's not careful, Gero might end up being made expendable at any moment. Now although Gero isn't very keen about this company, he's playing this move off in a cordial manner. The Doctor strikes upon an idea. In order to fully gain the trust of Frieza and get his new upgrades in place, Gero upgrades himself. He demonstrates this loyalty to Kikuno as he slowly replaces his own body with mechanical components in order to make sure that this whole procedure is safe for the Emperor to undertake. So thus we get Android 20. Kikuno is suitably impressed. Now to give the yellow twerp at least some credit, he isn't just meant to be an annoyance or anything. He could prove useful in some way, despite his mind not being the same caliber. He's got very small hands, you see. Together with Gero, he manages to implement the upgraded Scouter technology to himself, as well as his new android prototypes. Now while Frieza seems to be very keen on trying out these new parts, King Cold manages to convince him that they need to make sure that the procedure is safe for my little pretty pink princess. Now revenge can wait, especially if the results can be even more glorious than they were going to be. They observed Gero's personal upgrade and the implementation in these new android warriors. Gero had built some androids for Mecha Frieza to train with as a concept, which initially angers the Space Emperor. But when he starts remembering that Android 13 managed to hold his own pretty well against him, Frieza decides to give it a shot and swallow that bitter pill of training. Ugh. Now Gero knows that Frieza and Cold do not trust him fully, and probably never will entirely. They don't seem that kind of people. So he tries to learn everything that there is to be learned about Frieza's spaceship, just in case, how it works and how it runs. Gero puts all of this information into one of his greatest projects to date, Android 16. There is one small problem though. 16 is a rogue project. Frieza can never know about this, not just because it's a plan or anything, but because of the connection 16 has to his own son, which we are now aware of in the original lore. He attempts to hide 16 from Kikuno, stating that the tall droid is just a prototype soldier, nothing important, that he'll manufacture a far greater scale and a much better version, a better battalion for Lord Frieza as soon as they deal with the Saiyans. The Doctor remembers from what the mysterious stranger said this Trunks figure will indeed return, expecting that the androids will re-emerge in 3 years' time. So given this information, and the way that Gero composes himself, King Cold is willing to give Gero those 3 years to perfect his inventions. Meanwhile, it's worth mentioning what the original protagonists are up to. As in the original, Trunks meets up with Goku, despite the absence of Frieza, and tells him about the androids. They also spar for a little bit, where he for the first time reveals that he is a Super Saiyan as well as Goku. Trunks also says that he is unsure if his interference in the timeline has or hasn't changed something out there, and that they should better keep their eyes open for Frieza as well as the androids, because things are getting a bit dangerous here. As in the original, everyone goes off to train. Now you might say that they train even harder since they now think that Frieza is out there still. 3 years later, and somebody indeed comes to South City. It's Dr. Gero, aka Android 20 and Android 13 in tow. They wreak havoc upon South City, much like in the original with 19, but they're not alone. Frieza's ship is there too, but it remains hidden with the Emperor in his new android body, awaiting the right moment to pop up. In this scenario, Goku has been made more aware of the heart medicine's capabilities and took it with plenty of time, so he sticks around for the entirety of proceedings. Gero avoids direct conflict with the Saiyans, allowing 13 to do most of the dirty work for him, because remember, he's a doctor, not a fighter. Now 13's pretty impressive, sure, but nowhere near as powerful as he is in the movie. Defeating Saiyans is not Gero's goal, however. He is merely collecting the last bit of data that Gero and Frieza needs to finish up their revenge, and that will come later. Vegeta arrives the grand entrance, and he is the one to destroy 13 finally. Then all the attention goes squarely for the Doctor. Gero, however, is much stronger than he is in the original, as the Frieza Force's technology has allowed him to greatly upgrade his old body. He's mostly defending though, awaiting the grand entrance of the Space Emperor Frieza, and because Frieza told him to. Now suddenly, the infinite engine-powered Frieza attacks swiftly and mercilessly, in a way that Saiyans could never have expected. Now even though he is fighting against 2 Super Saiyans, he is doing pretty well. Kikuno and King Cold are visibly pleased. Even the late entrance of future Trunks doesn't seem to change the fate of the battle. Frieza is doing great against 3 Super Saiyans now, and the Z-Fighters can see that they are outmatched. An evacuation order is issued, but before everyone can leave, Dr. Gero remembers that one of the things left in the notes by the stranger, and he then goes squarely for Piccolo. At this point, he hasn't fused with Kami yet, so he is no challenge for Android 20, and gets obliterated to everyone's shock. Gohan tries to attack Gero in a fit of rage, but the Doctor handles him pretty well.
You took away my son, Son Goku. I am taking away yours.
Sure enough, this causes Goku to fall into a state of rage seeing his son injured, that allows him to get some serious damage on Frieza. Even Vegeta is pretty surprised. Gero is then forced to help Frieza against the Saiyans, as although he isn't growing weary because, you know, he's got the infinite engine, he wasn't quite prepared for such furious attacks from Goku in this heightened power. The remaining Z-Fighters manage to escape along with Gohan, who is injured, but the one thing that the stranger didn't tell Gero about were the fact that senzu beans were a thing, yeah? Meanwhile, Goku's power has become pretty dangerous, and King Cold is pretty worried. Although Goku managed to damage him a bit, Frieza is able to tank him for a while, and attempts to drain his ki, because he has that pan thing that Gero has as well. Gero, on the other hand though, attempts to handle both Trunks and Vegeta together. Luckily for both Gero and Frieza, they do not get tired while Saiyans do. Gero manages to seize an opportunity and fly away from the battle. He uses his last resort, as he did from the very start. He was planning this all along. He put bombs in himself and Frieza, you know, that's a red ribbon android trait, without the Emperor knowing a thing. He did that so Kikuno would think that this is a standard procedure due to the fact that the bombs are connected to the infinite engines. He's got it himself, so Frieza should be fine. Now before Frieza knows exactly what's happening, he explodes and takes out all 3 Saiyans as well as himself. King Cold is shocked, but Gero is strong enough to dispatch the remainder of the Frieza forces and King Cold. He reveals that he will be the one ruling over Earth, as his revenge has been fulfilled. He will be the one to improve the human race. He doesn't wish to destroy it. He will just create a new marvelous era for artificial humans. And all that with the Frieza Force's technology? It's gonna be good. But someone was watching though, the whole thing. Someone who wished him to tie up all the loose ends. Once the dust clears, the stranger appears and compliments Gero on a job well done. He also comments that Gero can become Earth's god, since he dispatched Kami by killing Piccolo, and that he wishes to uplift his race. Gero then responds with his scientific mind that he doesn't believe in gods, and that in the end, he just wants to maintain the age of rationality. The stranger chuckles though, and responds that his lack of faith might be his downfall. With one swift cut from a keyblade, he beheads the doctor. The stranger reveals that in his perfect plan, there is no place for any mortals, especially those playing gods with their squalid artificial humans. He tells the good doctor not to worry, as not far from now in time, the stranger can finally fulfill his plans, all thanks to Gero. He blows the head of Android 20 up and disappears. Of course, the demises of so many powerful beings has confused the Z-Fighters greatly. Gohan and Baby Trunks are now the only remaining Saiyans alive. Krillin, Yamcha and Tenshinhan decide to find out what happened, and they find the remains of Gero, King Cold and Frieza. They cannot fully interpret what happened, but it seems that the villains are just gone. They decide then to check out Frieza's ship. To their surprise, they find out that someone has already dealt with the soldiers. Before they can enter, they are greeted by someone.
Welcome, Krillin, Yamcha, Tenshinhan. I know that it doesn't look like it, but I am not your enemy. We need to work together against a bigger threat.
Who are you?
My name is Android 16, and I believe we can help each other.
And that's where we're going to leave things for right now. So what do you guys think? Can Android 16 help fix the situation? Can it even be fixed? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the very next one. Catch you later!